Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a first look at a brand new Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Therian Enamorus. Now Therian Enamorus arrives to the game as a part of a Valentine's Day raid day, and they did an amazing job with its moveset. Therian Enamorus is a fairy and flying type much like the regular Enamorus, but the moveset is quite a bit different. Your fast move choices are Fairy Wind and Astonish, and the charge moves are Mystical Fire, Fly, Moonblast, and Earth Power. So this thing has great fast moves and some pretty incredible coverage. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and I'm going to be testing it in some Ultra League practice battles with members of my Discord. Hopping into game number 1, picking up a pretty okay lead, Shadow Malamar and a Turtonator. Now the two leagues that I think this Pokemon could potentially be viable in are the Ultra League and the Master League. Unfortunately, I don't have nearly the XLs for the Master League, and the Ultra League isn't currently available, so that's why we're taking a look at it in practice battles. My opponent is going to safe switch into a shiny Galarian Moltres, and it's time, send out Enamorus. Enamorus farming up to the fly, gonna bait with the Mystical Fire. Mystical Fire bait is successful, and just like that, suddenly, my Therian Enamorus will be able to absorb this fly significantly better. Therian Enamorus, it's not a bulky Pokemon by any means. It is gonna be taking quite a lot of damage, but with a very efficient charge moveset and a huge attack stat, I think that this could actually be pretty competent anti-meta. My opponent tries for a Mystical Fire catch on a Turtonator, but we're able to react in time, connect with the fly, and secure the knockout before that Incinerate damage lands. I'm hoping my opponent sends back in the Moltres, because I would love to get rid of Moltres, so that way it cannot be a problem for Malamar. Moltres is going to be shielding up the Mystical Fire. This means they cannot get the farm down, and Enamorus is suddenly too bulky with that debuff, and they're forced to fire off energy and take the KO. Back in comes Malamar. Now I can actually knock them out, but they pivot out and reveal their final Pokemon is Virizion. Throwing a superpower at Virizion is going to make this endgame significantly more comfortable, because now I can acid them into a range where I can knock them out with Scald. And Leaf Blade just doesn't do meaningful damage onto an XL Tentacruel. So for Tentacruel, I'm very okay absorbing this damage and looking to try and farm up and take the knockout here, as they weren't in Scald range when I started, but after all these acids, even a resisted Scald will definitely be able to secure the KO. So Scald will take the knockout. I have energy on the Malamar, energy on this Tentacruel, and that means this game is going to be a win. Enamorus honestly impressed me quite a bit in the mid-game there. The debuffs, it made itself very, very annoying for my opponent to remove from the field of play. We pick up a good lead in the next match, leading Shadow Malamar into Titan. Obviously, I would prefer to see this on my Tentacruel, but this is still overall a very good lead. The fact that my opponent is not pivoting out probably means that they are ABA weak to the Malamar, which would work out very, very nicely. I'm going to be CMP tying Foul Play to their Icicle Spear, and hoping just to get rid of this, because obviously I don't want a Powder Snow user when I have a Therian Enamorus in the back. My opponent sends in Tentacruel, and unfortunately I can't really afford to pivot out. I know my Malamar is probably good in the back, but I can't pivot out because I cannot afford to have a Tentacruel on Enamorus. So I just let myself get farmed down and bring in my own Tentacruel. Payback is going to hurt, and my opponent should look to pivot out afterwards. They pivot out, and that is a Giratina Origin. Giratina Origin is a very scary Pokemon in the Ultra League. I think it's extremely slept on, and now I have a tough call to make. Do I bait with the Mystical Fire, or do I full send the Fly? I decide I'm going down swinging. I'm full sending the Fly at Giratina. Giratina calls the bait, and just like that, we should hopefully be in a good spot. However, I don't think I'm out of the woods quite yet, because even with a Mystical Fire debuff, this Shadow Ball is going to come close to knocking me out. Enamorus is very, very frail. We simultaneously switch Tentacruel into Tentacruel. I'm just needing whatever damage I can get, so I go for the Scald. Scald is going to land on the Tentacruel. We do not get the debuff. It is a pretty low chance, and I'm going to be no shielding as my opponent full sends the payback. I'm pretty confident Shadow Ball would do more, and now it's going to be a race. Shadow Claws versus Acid. It's going to be close. We farm down the Giratina on 1 HP, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, we see a terrible lead, Shadow Malamar into Clefable. Now, Clefable is a huge core breaker for this team. I save switch into Tentacruel, and my opponent is going to respond with Licky Licky. Clefable plus Licky Licky makes an incredible amount of sense as an Ultra League core, as Licky Licky does pretty well into the Pokemon that Clefable struggles against. I do not get the Scald debuff here, which means Shadow Ball will connect for some pretty sizable damage. My goal, if at all possible, is to try and save the Tentacruel, snipe the Licky Licky with a superpower, and then bait back out Clefable. If I want any chance to win this game, then I'm going to need to bait it back out and then get damage on it with Tentacruel. Superpower is going to be knocking out that Licky Licky. Back in comes Clefable, and I'm more than happy just to fully throw away the Malamar. Meteor Mash lands. I do barely survive it, so my opponent is going to get a little bit of farm on the Clefable, which is definitely not ideal. My opponent pivots. They reveal Shadow Talonflame in the back, and this is a problem. I have so much energy on the Tentacruel, but my Tentacruel is getting farmed down here for sure. I fire off the Scald. Scald gets the debuff. A bit of good luck does go my way. Suddenly, their Incinerates are not hitting quite as hard. Scald number 2 is going to get the shield. We get a second debuff, and that means that I actually survive and make the Scald. Am I 1 HP? I'm gambling. It's the Ultra League. I say no, but I was 1 HP. Oh no, and that might cost me the game. Oh, that is so unfortunate. I got 2 debuffs, but then I got cocky, and I think that is going to cost me. I see him P-tie here, but I imagine the Clefable has enough energy to make 2 Meteor Mashes before it can get my fly. Back in comes the Clefable, and I win. All I have to do is just click the fly. I have the fly, and I'm good. Meteor Mash shielded, and I clicked the wrong side. Unfortunately, I did not get a lot of sleep last night, and it backfires in the worst way. I forgot what side the fly was on after just pressing the fly. I clicked the wrong slide. Meteor Mash takes me out, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. Hopping to the next match, and we definitely need some redemption after that last game. Oh my goodness. We got KO'd through a shield. We clicked the wrong move. Nothing was going right. But a catch of a move from Galarian Weezing on a Tentacruel is a good place to start. It was only a Brutal Swing catch, but when my opponent sends out for Alligator, then I know they're probably in some trouble. They do not have a good answer to the Tentacruel save switch. And if they don't, they're probably going to be shielding. I get the shield and the Scald debuff. Suddenly, I'm getting Scald debuffs left and right. It honestly feels like prime Tentacruel back when Scald had the higher debuff chance. Oh my goodness. That Scald debuff, it's so game-changing here because the Hydro Cannon does not knock out now. I make it to the payback, and suddenly, I've completely flipped this matchup on its head. Payback lands, Tentacruel farms down, and I'm more than happy just to let myself get farmed down by whatever gets brought back in. It's going to be the Weezing. Weezing gets a huge energy head start. In comes Malamar, and the Psywave goes through. I'll shield respecting an overheat, and I'm just going to blind switch into Enamorus. Enamorus is going to be answered with a, no, that's not a Greninja. I thought that was going to be a Greninja off the typing, but it's a Hisuian Samurott. Opponent bringing out the spice. You absolutely love to see it. Unfortunately for Samurott, they just have no fast move pressure here. Fury Cutter double resisted by Enamorus' typing. Icy Wind is going to slow my roll a little bit, meaning that I will not be able to take the knockout with Fly, but the damage is still done. Fly is going to get them very, very low. They survive on incredibly low HP, and I can just win the game now with the Malamar. Icy Wind will take the knockout. Shadow Malamar gets that farmed out. All that's left is one Psywave onto the Weezing, and that's a good game. Bad news, though, in the next match. Our nemesis Clefable has returned. Now, against the previous Clefable lead, I should have won, but unfortunately, I clicked the wrong move, and that ended up costing me in a pretty big way. It looks like this trainer is running a very similar team. Again, that Clefable plus Licky Licky pairing is so strong. We get another Scald debuff. Oh my goodness. My Tentacruel, we really have to drug test this Tentacruel at this point. Like, this Tentacruel should not be getting this many Scald debuffs. I'm going to go for the exact same game plan that I did before, which is bank energy, try and snipe them down with a superpower, but obviously I have way more HP on my Tentacruel because this time I got the Scald debuff. So I fire off superpower, that's going to land, taking the knockout, and back in comes Clefable. Clefable going to be spamming out charge stacks here. I'm more than happy to let this go. It's a Meteor Mash, just like last game. So far, the only thing that's differed from the previous game was the fact that I got the Scald debuff, so I have way more HP on my Tentacruel. And I'm going to use it. I fire off the Scald, opponent makes a catch on a Jellicent, and I think that catch is going to win them this game. Jellicent is just so bulky. I get another Scald debuff. I just do not deserve all these Scald debuffs. I don't know what is happening. I feel like Jellicent is too bulky to end up risking going for a bait, so I full send, and they do end up shielding, so that was not the correct call. They are debuffed, so I'm going to be no shielding as they go for the surf. But unfortunately, I still think the writing's on the wall in this one, and there is just no way out. My opponent played very well, even despite me getting every Scald debuff under the sun. It was not enough to save me. This team is so AVA weak to Clefable. I bring back in the Tentacruel. Tentacruel going to get outpaced as they make the Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash not going to knock out, but it will set me up to potentially get hexed down by the Jellicent. I fire off Scald. Scald is going to be securing the KO, but I'm not going to be able to make it to a payback. Jellicent hits the field. I try and make it to the payback, and I just can't get there. Scald is going to be resisted, and my opponent knows I did not get there. Oh my goodness. I fire off the Mystical Fire, but I know even with the debuff, I will get KO'd. Very nice plays by my opponent. I tried to find a way out of that Clefable lead, but unfortunately, it simply was not to be. We see a familiar lead in the next match, Shadow Malamar into Turtonator. In the Ultra League, Turtonator's almost always on Dragon Claw and Overheat, so anytime they fire off energy instantly, I always shield because I do not want to let an Overheat land. And they do go for the Overheat, so that's a big swing. The fact that my opponent is not pivoting out tells me that they are probably ABA weak to the Malamar. In that case, I think banking a ton of energy and then going for a catch and sneak onto the Tentacruel is going to be the best way to go. Now I have a ton of stored energy on my Malamar for later, and I was able to take the knockout with the Acid. My opponent sends in Shadow Dusknoir. I'm going to farm up to the Payback and then go for the Scald. Even a Scald will do quite a lot of damage. I get the shield and another Scald debuff. Oh my goodness, this is just absurd at this point. With the Scald debuff, that Shadow Punch does absolutely nothing. I believe that I can probably hang on to this next Shadow Punch as well. Shadow Punch lands, I survive, I pivot back into the Malamar, and I'm firing off Foul Play. Foul Play is going to be connecting onto the Dusknoir. I snipe down with the Psywave, and in the back, they have Galarian Moltres. Galarian Moltres is going to be taking some pretty substantial damage from the back-to-back superpowers. They shield up the first, I fire off the second. They will get a big farm down, but in the Ultra League, I feel like a lot of Moltres are on payback. If they don't have Brave Bird, then they're not going to have a good way of damaging my Enamorus. I send in Enamorus, go for the Soul Reed catch, but we did not get it. The good news for me is that I believe I can Fairy Wind them into fly range before they can make a potential Brave Bird, and this is not enough energy for a Brave Bird. So I should just be winning here. Fly lands, that does do a lot of damage onto Enamorus, but Enamorus is able to hang on. Fly secures the knockout onto Moltres and takes the win. We see a very scary lead in the next match, but a very cool flex from our opponent. Shadow Malamar into the Shadow Shiny Raikou. Raikou, I mean, it has damage for everything on this team. We do not have an electric resist, so that means Wild Charge is scary everywhere. If I want a chance in this game, it's going to start with calling an Aura Sphere. So I no shield, call the Aura Sphere, and my opponent is going to be immediately firing off another move. I thought about catching it, but I was too worried they would go for a blind Wild Charge, which they did. I get aggressive, pivoting into Tentacruel. My opponent is going to respond with Lapras, and the Psywaves are going to absolutely eat me alive. Payback is going to land. That does hit for some solid damage, but unfortunately 2 Paybacks, even with all the acids, do not do enough to secure the KO. Sparkling Aria is going to land as they continually chip away more and more at the Tentacruel. And unfortunately, it looks like they're going to be able to Psywave me down after I land my Payback, because my Payback just won't put them into farm down range, but I am definitely already in farm down range. So I land the Payback. I'm going to pivot out into the Malamar, trying to snipe down with Psywaves, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. The Lapras is too bulky. I just let the Malamar go, and I'm trusting in Enamorus to close out this game. And unfortunately, they have Toucannon in the back, so I'm in quite a lot of trouble. Fly rocks the Toucannon, but Toucannon is going to be able to hang on and make it to the Beak Blast. And now the game all comes down to this. I need a catch to win. They are always going to be able to outpace me here and make it to the Wild Charge before I get there. They have the Wild Charge now. I'm going to predict that they overfarm by 2 and go for the catch then, but they overfarm by 1. I was in a really tough spot there. I was hoping for the hero catch, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. Shadow Raikou farms me down and takes the win. We get a great lead in the final match, Shadow Malamar into Giratina. One of the rare times when I actually have multiple Giratina counters on my team, and I'm very happy that I do, because Giratina will absolutely destroy teams if given a chance. I do have a pretty significant pacing advantage in this matchup, so when they shield, I'm more than happy to shield back, and then just continue to farm. My opponent safe switches into Credilli, and they are core broken by Malamar. I'm going to be farming up to the back-to-back superpowers. They shield the first, but I'm going to be going for superpower number 2. My backline isn't a big fan of a full health Credilli, so I get some damage on it, farm up, anticipating their overfarm and getting the catch onto Tentacruel. Saving the Malamar, I think, will serve me quite nicely, because if they're switching a Credilli into a loaded Malamar, odds are they very well could be triple weak, and it could be something like a Wall Rain in the back, in which case my Enamorus is not going to have a lot of play. I end up turn waiting there just to make sure that there's no catch, and fire off the Scald. The Scald lands, Credilli barely able to hang on, and that's not the Wall Rain I was expecting, that is Cobalion. I pivot out, reset the debuff, and snipe with a superpower. This will not knock out, but it's going to do some pretty significant damage onto Cobalion. Cobalion fires off Sacred Sword. That's going to be the end of Malamar, but I can bring in Tentacruel. This is a very IV dependency of Beat-Die, and unfortunately it appears that I'm not going to be winning it this time. Stone Edge is going to be knocking out the Tentacruel, and it's Enamorus versus the world. I'm going to go for a Cap-Die here, go for the Mystical Fire, but the opponent makes the catch of a lifetime, catching Mystical Fire onto Credilli. That is a big problem for me, as back in comes Giratina, and I'm going to have to manage my energy exceedingly carefully. I have to let the Shadow Ball go, as a Stone Edge would do more. I farm up. I'm very, very low, but I do know that I double resist double kicks. If they're one off the back-to-back, I lose the game, but they're two off. We win charge attack priority. Oh my goodness, my opponent did not have a Malamar check, and they made that incredibly close. What a game, and we somehow escape with a win. All in all, I ended up having an incredible amount of fun getting to try out Therian and Enamorus. I think when it comes to the moveset, the developers basically get an A+ here. I don't think there's much they could have done better than what they did with Enamorus Therian's moveset. Fairy Wind and Astonish are just two unbelievably good fast move options. Fairy Wind obviously getting same type attack bonus, and Astonish, even if you don't get same type attack bonus on it, it's just such a strong move that if you wanted to run Enamorus with slower pacing but more fast move pressure, or just as more of an anti-ghost, then I feel like that could be an option. And for the charge moves, Mystical Fire, Fly, Moonblast, and Earth Power, this thing has some crazy, crazy potential movesets. I think for the Ultra League, Mystical Fire Fly is probably preferred, and I do think that for the Ultra League, while it's by no means Ultra League meta, I think there's potentially a case to be made for it as like a spicy anti-meta core breaker, because we've seen fairy flying types have success in the past with Togekiss, mainly due to the fact that it had really good coverage and really good pacing. And I think that the coverage and pacing on Therian and Enamorus is honestly really, really nice. Now, it's very, very frail, but I think that the one move that it's always going to run, no matter the moveset that it runs, is Mystical Fire. And that is because it can help kind of offset the sins of its stats, so to speak. Its stats are not the greatest, but when you apply a Mystical Fire debuff to an opponent, then suddenly you increase your survivability quite substantially, so it kind of artificially inflates your bulk and makes you feel bulkier than the Pokemon actually is. To sum it up, honestly, I was very pleasantly surprised by Therian and Enamorus. I was expecting another release where it just has like the worst moveset known to man, and every game trying to get a win with it is a huge uphill battle, but I really feel like Enamorus was actually a contributor to this team. Enamorus put in some pretty solid work, and I can see potentially if people are trying to have some fun in the Ultra League, where Enamorus could join a team and actually lock down some wins. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching today's video, please do leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide to the channel is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.